The last method of separation of solid-solid mixture is sublimation. Now, before I discuss the process of sublimation, I think you have already learned in the lower classes that there are three states of matter: solid, liquid and gas. Let's take the example of ice. Ice is the solid form of water, and when this ice melts, it changes into liquid, which is water. And when you boil water, then this water will change into vapor, the gaseous state. Now here in the process of sublimation, the solid will change directly to vapor state without passing through the liquid state. That is the process of sublimation. And this process is also used in the separation of many substances like ammonium chloride, iodine, naphthalene, camphor. And the technique of separation is the mixture is heated in an evaporating dish. So when the mixture is heated in an evaporating dish, then the mixture, the solid that is needed to be sublimed will change. Will change into vapor, and the other constituents will be left behind in the dish. So if you see the daily example of sublimation, then I think we can practice this sublimation every day at home. Like you must have heard or you must have seen the air purifier which we use in the toilet. That air purifier is in the solid state, right? So when you keep that air purifier in the toilet, then that solid will change slowly into its vapor form without passing through the liquid state. So how do we know the solid is changing, that air purifier is changing into vapor? Once that solid will change into vapor, then it will release some pleasant smell. So through that smell, we will know that the solid is changing into a vapor state, and that is the process of sublimation, which is air purifier which we use in the toilet. Then another example which I want to show you is this one, naphthalene ball, isn't it? Naphthalene ball. This also we can use. We will put it inside our cloth, and what does it do? This ball will change directly into vapor state, slowly releasing some smell, and those vapor will remove the moth or other insects from our cloth. So these are the 5 processes of separating solid mixtures. Actually, we are practicing this every day at home. We are familiar with all these processes, but what we don't know is the scientific term. Alright. Now the next method of separation of a mixture is separation of solid liquid mixtures where the solids are insoluble in water. Like let's take the example of sand and water. When you add sand in water, sand will not get dissolved in water, which is an example of solid liquid mixtures. And this method, there are 2 ways to do to separate solid liquid mixtures, and if you see the method, then they are sedimentation and decantation. That is number 1 method. Then number 2 is filtration. So let us discuss sedimentation and decantation, which is used in the separation of solid liquid mixtures where solids are insoluble. Now the first step is sedimentation. So what is sedimentation? Now sedimentation, in this process, the insoluble solid particles settle down at the bottom of the container. Is that clear? Like this one, I have done it here in the bottle. Like I have mixed sand and water. So when I put sand in water, you can see sand, it is insoluble in water. So this sand will settle down at the bottom of this container, which is insoluble. So the settling down of this insoluble solid particles at the bottom of the container is called sedimentation. okay, and the solid insoluble particles, here it is sand, it is called sediments, and the clear liquid which you can see here is called supernatant liquid. So, this is the first step of sedimentation. Now, this sedimentation is followed by the next step, that is decantation. Now, what is decantation? The pouring of this clear supernatant liquid in another container is called decantation. So, just see here what I am doing. I am pouring the liquid very slowly without disturbing the sediments. Can you see that? Now, we have separated sand and water. This is decantation. Alright. So, this is one method of separating solid liquid mixtures where solids are insoluble. Now, the next method is filtration. Now, what is filtration? In this method, the insoluble solid particles are separated from the mixture by using a filter. Okay? So, what happened? The mixture is put on a filter, okay, and the insoluble solid particles will be left on the filter and the clear liquid can easily pass through that filter. That is the process of filtration, and the insoluble particles which are left on the filter are called residue, and the clear liquid that passed through the filter is called filtrate. Alright. Now, let me show you one example. The most common example of filtration is making tea and tea leaves. I just want to show you, like this is a filter. So, after making tea, what do? We pour that tea on the filter, mixture of tea and tea leaves. So, while doing that, the tea leaves will remain on the filter and the liquid can easily pass through it. So, this process is called filtration, which we practice every day at home. Again, I am going to tell you, the only thing is we do not know the term. So, these are the process. So, if you compare the process of sedimentation and decantation and filtration, which one is better? Which one is better? In your book it is written, do you agree, like if sedimentation is better than filtration is better than sedimentation and decantation? Then we can say yes, sedimentation is better than filtration is better than sedimentation and decantation. Okay? So, what happens in sedimentation? There is all the solid insoluble particles, they might not settle down at the bottom of the container. And in the process of sedimentation, decantation also, while pouring the liquid in another container, there might be a chance of mixing those insoluble solid particles with water. That is why filtration is better than sedimentation and decantation, because in filtration, in this method, the insoluble solid particles are completely separated from the liquid. Is that clear? Then the last method of separation of mixture is separation of solid liquid mixtures, where solids are soluble in liquid. Let us take the example of salt solution. If you add salt in water, what happens? Salt can easily get dissolved in water and it will make a salt solution. So, how can you separate that salt solution? So, that can be done by the process called evaporation. Now, you are familiar with the process of evaporation. What is evaporation? What happens in evaporation? The water or the liquid will change into vapor state. That process is called evaporation. Okay. So, what is the technique of separation? The mixture say for example containing salt or salt solution, okay, or any mixture where the solid particles are dissolved in a liquid, that mixture will be exposed for evaporation on the sun or on the air, okay, and what happens? That water will evaporate and the other constituent solid mixture will be, constituents will be left.